There's an old fallacy that war is good for the economy, good for the stock market, and so on. Nothing could be further from the truth. When you're building tanks instead of cars, and you're building mortars instead of refrigerators, people's lives do not get better, they get worse. The money that would have gone to building a new home, to getting a new car, to their children's education and so on, is diverted instead to missiles and airplanes and bombs and all these other things. And those things do not add to prosperity. Maybe you see a lot of activity, but what you do not see is the standard of living of people going up during a war. It goes down. During the Second World War, you couldn't get sugar, you couldn't get tires, you couldn't buy a new car, you couldn't get a refrigerator, you couldn't get any of these things. Even meat was rationed so that you could only have so much meat every week for your family. And that's not prosperity. What happens during a war is that it is good for certain kinds of companies that are really into war production. In the Second World War, General Motors stopped building cars and was building tanks instead, and they were making profits. But they were not the kind of profits that they made when they were building cars in the 30s and when they were building cars again in the late 40s and the 50s, because during the war they were subject to price controls, to contracts that severely limited the profits they could make, and there were, for companies that did not have those kind of regulations on them, there were enormous what they called excess profits, taxes. So the point is that war is not good for the economy. It is not good for prosperity. It is not good for the stock market. It is not good for you. It is not good for me. It is only good to protect this country from an imminent invasion or attack, and nobody has offered any evidence that that is what America is facing right now. And as a result, we are being asked to go to war. We are being asked to give up our liberties. We are being asked to give up our earnings and our money and to watch government get bigger and bigger and bigger under the cloak of this war against terrorism and war against Iraq, which is doing nothing to make America safer and, in fact, is doing exactly the opposite by provoking more people around the world to help thugs like bin Laden and Saddam Hussein and others who might like to do us harm.